Well, hello, masipoti simawethu. Welcome to another episode of Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. Inkqubo esishukuxayima ibayiphathelene namalungelo akho njengomthengi. Well, it's a Friday. That means only one thing. It's another Friday for you and I to interact on your consumer rights. Well, ukumleke nawe basukuvale ngaphandle kumba wethu wanamhlanje. You can also be a part of us right here in studio. The number to dial is 011 714 6918 and of course 6919 as you see it on the screen. And of course, you can also go on social media. If you're a cool social media person, you can go on Twitter and find my Twitter handle as you see it on the screen. It's @SpeechNzawumbi and #Yilungelo Lakho and child maintenance. Or rather, just go on our Facebook page, find Yilungelo Lakho, go on our Facebook status that I've uploaded today or rather yesterday about child maintenance issues and drop your comment as you please. Well, another Friday, another time to get informed. Good afternoon to you. Now, kumba wethu namhlanje ke mbukeli abazali ababaleka ukuhlawula imali yesondlo sabantwana bajongene ukudibana nembila zithutha. Now, child maintenance defaulters will have to pay up or face the law. These as measures are put in place to bring those who neglect their children or parental responsibilities to book. And this will include being blacklisted on the credit bureau and attachment of their employment benefits amongst other things. But child maintenance issues are not always cut and dry as they seem. Perhaps this should give you an idea.
Lona ngoRob Fakri na Maureen make wemphana khe lona eminyaka lemibili. Lolo fake isilamba lesulhlada ubabe wa Maureen.
This is the magistrate order. It's coming from the magistrate. Let's go back to the magistrate. Come. I'll take you back to the magistrate. Come.
Rob na Maureen bete lapha eJohannesburg Family Court tewulungisa lidzaba lwesondlo semvana wabo.
I'm asking her about the nappies because they removed my son away from her when my son was in her care, not in my care. And I want to send him nappies and stuff because he needs it because he's in the shelter.
Ludzaba lwesondlo luyimpica abadzala. Kuba kubi kakhulu ke uma ngabe sekungenelela umuntu wesithathu. Rob uthi kucamukela kwababe wa Maureen kwenda kwekuthi kube madima kondla umphana wabo.
Up until yesterday, I only knew where my son was. For 10 days, nobody could tell me where he was. He's at the welfare.
Rob uthi amondle njani ke umphana wakhe angatiniki ukuthi uhlala kuphi.
I don't have a problem to pay maintenance. I do not. And they haven't changed that. It's 50-50.
You leave my daughter.
Listen to me.
I said you leave my daughter. You leave my daughter.
Can you record
You leave my daughter, eh?
Can you record how they're holding me?
What's my daughter?
A court order
Leave
has
my
given
daughter.
me
I'll
the
kill
right.
you myself.
The court order has given me a right to
I will kill you
accommodate my
here.
son.
I'll kill you here.
Njengoba ke bekukhonjwana asikakhoni ukukhuluma na Maureen. Lokubhlungu nje kwekuthi akusuye Rob noma Maureen. Lohlukumetekako kulempi. Ngumbanabo. Babalelwa ku 50% banphana labangakhuliswa abadali babo bobabili lapha eNingizimu Afrika. Dimo letfana naleti tekungondliwa kwebanphana lesetibangele uhulumende wekuthi angenelele ngekuphathisa umthetho lovumela ku blacklist okwebadali labangondli. Kuthathwa kwemali yesondlo emholweni wemtali kanye nekubekwa licala kwaloyo mtali longondli. Umphakathi awuboni ngasolinye.
That's not a good idea because the women will just dump these children and the wife to go and find another woman and do the same thing. So that's a good idea to blacklist them.
Kuzowenza ukuthi umuntu ayibhadale imali on time at least for umntwana. And as a mother or as a father you don't struggle with the child. Nayokuhlala nomntwana.
No, awukho right because of uthi mhlambe sometimes umntwana lo akuso wakho. And then you don't have imali yokwenza ama-DNA test.
Labanye bathi lo mthetho uvikela abadali labangahluphi ngekufuna umsebenzi.
The mother hasn't been working since he's been born, so I've been accommodating for my son all the time.
Mina no mama siyafana. We have to support those kids.
It's not like bavikela bomama kakhulu. It's like they did try to bring balance, especially in my case because I had a case nyana yomntwana here. They did advise us, both of us, from what I saw. It there was some sort of equality.
Losekusele ke nyalo kubatali labafana na Rob na Maureen kwekuthi lo mthetfo utawusebenta kanjani. Zinhle Dlamini, Yilungelo Lakho.
Well, masibambe kasibini ke ngelonqaku eseliqulunqelwe nguMadlamini. Now to further our discussion on how the maintenance or the new maintenance law will affect you and what your rights and responsibilities are. Let's extend our warm welcome to our guests. Masamkele Advocate Daniel Tulache, yena acting chief magistrate phaya kwisebe lezobulungisa, that is the Department of Justice. Phaya ke kumagumbethu ezosasazo ePulukwane, masamkele uMbuyiselo Bota ovela kumbutho iSonke Justice Network. Let's start with you and welcome you on our show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sawubona Speech, sawubona Mzansi.
Thank you. Mr. Bota in Pulukwane, siyabulela kakhulu ngokuba uye wayinxalenye yethu namhlanje, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Dabulela tata tike dipotise nditike utatu tuladi apote na ke tata dabulela ke.
All right, thank you so much, Andy Atemba na upotil. Let's start with the inset. Perhaps let's start with you, Putulani. You saw that the gentleman right there, Urob, he wants to pay maintenance. He wants to be a part of the child's life, but now he is being infringed of Yilungelo. How will this law affect such cases?
Yeah, you see, masikhuluma ngabantwana. There are a variety of laws that are applicable to a child. Yabona. Manje mangibhekile kule insert problems zethu. And the main issue does not appear to be maintenance. It's one of them, but it's not the main issue. The main issue Rob revolves around the care and the question of contact with the child. Yabona. Manje lokho, it's not dealt with in terms of the Maintenance Act. Kunomthetho osebenza ngalokho, which is the Children's Act 38 of 2005. Yabona. So it's not for members of the public ukuthi balwe njengoba kuliwa emakhothe kuthenjiswana nokubulawana lapho. What needs to happen is Urob must go back to the courthouse. Yabona. Lapha courthouse, if he makes proper inquiries, uzothola ukuthi there is within the family law court a services section. Kukhona a section which deals with care and contact. Kukhona a clerk of the children's court. Yabona. And then uzomsiza ngokufile application yakhe which relates to the care of the child. And then what generally happens is the Department of Social Development, which is a partner, of course, to us in child care. Normally, the magistrate would refer a questionnaire investigation around the circumstances. And then the question of who should care for the child would then be determined. But going back to the question, your maintenance and the maintenance amendment.
Perhaps before we get to that, let's go to Masisa Pogwe, Mr. Porter. Uyibonile nansi insert yethu sino Rob ofuna ukuba inxalenye yomntwana wakhe, but ke ngoku kunezinto ezininzi umama uthathe lo mntwana wayomfaka ku shelter. Kwindawo ezinjalo apho ufumanisa ubutata ufuna ukuba inxalenye yomntwana, nina Sonke Justice Network nidlala xanduva luni?
Well, kubalulekile that we do not make use or abuse children in the process. That you can't make them a football as we fight. I mean, you remember the old saying that when two elephants fight, the grass gets head. So it's important that we ask the question as parents that what is in the best interest of the child? That for us, Tata, ibalulekile. So we're saying that the lines of communication must always remain open, because we must be motivated, both partners. We must be motivated by one thing. Why are we in this relationship? And what is it that we can do to ensure that the best interest of the child supersedes those of ours?
Okay, all right. Let's come to you now and talk about Lomthetho Sidibanisileyo namhlanje, that is the Maintenance Act. What necessitated rather the amendments to Lomthetho?
Look, mauku implementation area yomthetho njengathi, all right. You start identifying bottlenecks. Ukuthi I problem kahle ngomthetho njengoba umile kuyini. All right, and then we communicate that to our ministry, and the deputy minister and the minister then attends to that, and the matter is referred to legal services for the drafters to look into the drafting to improve implementation. Yabon. So I am at the implementation phase at the magistrates' courts. Now, one of the things that we identified, let's talk to the First Amendment, section 6,
Yes.
is une scenario la umama ubuya, let's say equnu, in the former Transkei, and uzithola ela eGoli. Yabon, abantwana basele nogogo wabo in the homeland.
Yes.
Yabon, and yena usebenza la.
Apha eGauteng.
Now the question was the old act, the old provisions before President Zuma signed the new provisions last week, provided ukuthi umama la ahlala khona noma abantwana behlala khona. Uyabona. Now it created a problem ngokuthi umama esebenza la, there were sometimes disputes because ubaba noma abanye abantu bazoza ngedefense yokuthi but she is not resident here. Now icourt yase Johannesburg does not have jurisdiction. Ayinawo amandla wokusiza. Yabona. And that's what led to the section 6 amendment. Ukuthi sifake outside residents. Kube ne carrying on business or employed. Within. So which means manje it's very clear ukuthi that in the scenario that I have given, umama has got an election. She can go back to the magisterial district la ugogo ekhona nabantwana to go and lodge her claim. Or the law is now very clear ukuthi she can also approach the court la at Johannesburg. So that's one of the reasons for the amendment.
But social activism groups ezininzi like usonke justice might think into yokubana lo mthetho mhlawumbe ukucala labantu abasetyhini ulicala lomama nabantwana kukhona ootata abafuna ukuhlawula intlawulo zabantwana okanye khona ootata abahlala nabantwana ufumanisa uba kule household ngumama ophangelayo utata kaphangeli kwi-cases ezinjalo ke ngoku what's the rule of law?
The legal position is abazali bonke, they are jointly liable to maintain their children. Yabon. And then they have to contribute equally in proportion to their means. That's the legal position. So maufika enkantolo ukhala ngesondlo sabantwana. What we look at is there a need? Obviously, for a child under 18, the need is assumed. We don't need to prove it. It's a child. The child needs maintenance. The question that we go to is then, what are the means that are available in the light of the joint liability? And then we try to assess to make sure that omunye no munje, insofar as the presiding officer can determine a reasonably appropriate amount, unigeza the appropriate, equal, and proportionate share with maintenance.
Mr. Bota, you must be familiar with cases of maintenance isondlo sabantwana. Kukhona amaxesha performance into yokubana utata kanayo imali akaphangeli, umama ke mhlawumbe naye akaphangeli. Kwi-cases ezinjalo phoza performance bomama ke ngoku uyamqhuba utata umsa kwinkundla zamatyala ngelithi makahlawule isondlo somntwana. Nina niyisonke gender justice loluphi uxanduva eludlalayo kwi-cases ezinjalo?
Yabona tata kubalulekile sithi ke in those cases, I think it's important to negotiate, but there are also instances where ufumana ukuthi utata uzawuyeka umsebenzi ngamabomu athi ke I want to get back to her, you know. So kubalulekile ukuthi we must always make a distinction sithi ke if I as umbuyiselo I'm in a gainful employment and I'm earning money, it's important for me that I should in fact ensure that I do pay maintenance. So ke and this is part of our programs or fatherhood or men care, that you can't just not fulfill your duties or your responsibilities even though you are employment. It is understandable if uti awuphangeli, but also there are means that a lot of us could do, can do, must do. Singabotata ungathi ke mna ke adiphangeli ke at a formal employment. There, like I said, tata and it's important for us city ikhona indlela ungathi ke mna kunolomthetho uyancinezela city. We do not think that it is appropriate. It is in fact correct for us singamadoda uyeke nje umsebenzi uthi asoze ndithi ndizawuphangela asoze ndiphangela ndiyeke umsebenzi sithi yenza ke everything in your power to ensure that the child's interests are catered for.
All right, well, that's our discussion today. If you just joined us, Wanapekaya, today we're talking about child maintenance issues. Umba ukuhlawula kwesondlo sabantwana. Umthetho omtsha ke okhutshwe eParliamente uthi utata okanye umama ongahlawuli wena mzali obaleka ukuhlawula isondlo somntwana ngoku uzawudibana nembelazithutha. You'll be blacklisted. Xa uyovula i-accounts ufumanise into yokubana sowufakiwe kwi-blacklisting. Ngulomba ke shukuxayo namhlanje kwinkqubo yethu. Khumuleke nawe ungayinxalenye yethu. The number is the number rather, not inombolo. The number is 011 714 6918 and 6919. Our discussion will continue straight after this break. Well, welcome back. Yilungelo Lakho studio. The number is 011 714 6918 and 6919. As you see it on the screen, we're also taking your thoughts via email. So send us those emails to consume@sabc.co.za, or rather just go to Facebook and post your comment on our Facebook page. We'll be reading those comments as the show goes by. Now, the question I asked you before the break was, now, what case where you find that the mother is not staying with the child, the father is staying with the child, and the father is very responsible, but the mother is not in the picture. And ingaba the mothers are they going to be held responsible as well, equally to the father?
Yes. The problem is not the law. The problem, I think, it's public knowledge. And that is why our department does these kinds of discussions to say, let the people know. And umthetho wetu, it's not saying it's only a mother who can approach a court to claim maintenance. Yabon.
Yeah.
Any custodial parent, umzali omunye nomunye ohlala nabantwana,
Angahamba
who is maintaining the children and is not having a fair share contribution of the other parent, unalo ilungelo loku approach the court.
Okay.
To claim. So we don't only accept applications from women. We take applications from fathers and brothers who are custodial parents of children. We do that. It's just that in practice, in the main, what people see is the majority of our country, mothers are custodial parents. Yabon. And that is why it creates an impression yoguti yebo kuphela, because they are the ones that are there in the maintenance courts. But Owamanje, we are steadily seeing an increase in the number of custodial parents who are fathers who are approaching the courts bazocela ukuthi nabomama basize.
But there's also a huge majority of 21st century mothers abangahlala nabantwana babo, abantwana babo bahlala nomakhulu, njengoba sisho earlier on that umakhulu usengqamakwe uhlala nabantwana, umama womntwana ulapha eGauteng and uyaziphangelela. Uhleli kulanto kuba umakhulu mhlawumbe urholela abantwana igrant. But that's not enough for the welfare of the child, you know, for the well-being of the child. In the past, in the Maintenance Act, you'd find that our mothers would get away with maintaining their children. The act only focused on making sure that udada is held accountable. Now, I think it brings into question role your mama when it comes to maintenance. How do you ensure that there is an equilibrium agreement between the two parties?
In my courts, let me start by the moment you walk into a court, maufike court, utola our administrative component, our clerks, the clerks of the courts, they assist you with the administrative part of taking the application. The person that they take the file to put in judicious and legal industry into it is what we call a maintenance office. Yabon. And you would have seen in the insert, Omunyo said, you know, when I was there, I was in the presence of a person who appeared to be neutral and fair to everybody. That would presumably be a maintenance officer. Yabon. He looks into the file. He is a legally trained person.
Okay.
Yabon. He looks into the facts. He looks into the law and make determinations and advise parties. Let's say, for argument's sake, he or she determines the claim is exorbitant. It's more than what could be claimed for. He would advise the applicant to say, look, here's the financial position of the respondent. And from how it looks like, it doesn't seem like he can afford the nature of the claim. In as much as if the view is what the respondent offers is too minimal, taking a regard of his means. You know, whatever you're offering. But coming back to your question, mothers who are staying away from children. The responsibility is joint. kulabantu.
Okay.
And each one of them has got a legal duty to contribute his equal and proportionate share.
Okay.
So umakhulu lo ohlala nabantwana unalo ilungelo
Yeah.
lokuya ecourt. I'm following on the facts that you have set out, where the mother holds the belief yokuthi because kune child support grant and therefore she doesn't need to contribute. So umakhulu has got the right to go to court as the custodial parent yabantwana to lodge a claim against her own daughter.
Ukuba abhatale isondlo somntana.
No baba wabantwana balethwe bonke
ecourt
and the court will make an assessment yokuthi how much should the father contribute and how much should the mother contribute?
Okay.
And then to make up the totality of the need.
All right. Well, let's go and hear what Julia has to say. We've got a caller who's calling us from the Eastern Cape. Julia, welcome to the show.
Hello, Put.
Hello, Mama.
Put ndinengxaki endifuna uyibuza apha kuwe. Ndinombuzo woba umuntu uba mhlawumbi noba njengoba ndingumakhulu njena womntana andinakho na ubafumana abantwana kulowa umakhulu njengoba umakhulu wabo engavumi bezapha xa beze apha bayabethwa nangumama wabo njengoba unyana wami betshadile naye intombi lena so bayabethwa xa bezapha kumna nalungelo nalo mntana.
Okay, all right. I think Mr. Bota will have to answer that one. Mr. Bota, uvile umbuzo kamama?
Yeah, I can.
Ndivile ke but into ndifuna ukwazi mama ukuthi na abantwana bona ke bahlanu bani ke yena bona
abantwana bahlana bani mama
uthi ke
abantwana bahambe nomama wabo wayohlala nabo kokwabo
bahambe nomama wabo bayohlala nomama wabo kokwabo Mr. Bota
umama wabo akadanga kumso ndifuna ke ngoku abanalungelo nalo ukuza kuma babantwana.
Yeah, Mr. Bota icase ngumakhulu lo fonayo kwecala likatata ngumakhulu ufuna ukwazi
abantwana bayithola isondlo kakuhle na abantwana abanangxaki na pha bahlala khona kumakhulu na ndibuza ke kumakhulu.
Yes, I think so because they are staying with umama, you know, their biological father. But ke ngumakhulu lo kwicala likatata ufuna naye ukuba ne-equal responsibility basherishelane umntwana nomnye umakhulu kwelinye icala.
Oh, okay. Ndiyavisa ke mna ke andazi ukuthi umthetho we-maintenance uzawungena phaya ke because mna ndicinga ke umakhulu nabo kuyanyanzekela ukuthi bathethisane babonisane kakuhle ukuthi na umntana ke naye umntana aye kumakhulu wakhe.
Okay.
Andazi ukuthi uzawuthini u-advocate Thulari but ke andazi ukuthi andivisisi ukuthi izawungena njani i-maintenance because umakhulu ingathi ke uthi yena uyathanda nje abantwana bamazi ukuthi umakhulu wabo.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's give it to Mr. Let's give it to the advocate, Mr. Bota. Advocate, I'm sure you're familiar with the cases, isn't you?
Yeah. As I said, i-Maintenance Act does not cover everything esebenza ngabantwana. I problem gagogo. I presume is the paternal grandmother, from my understanding. Umama katata wabantwana. Yabona. Who wants ufuna ukuba ne relationship nabantwana and the maternal grandmother and the mother are creating difficulties. Manje, leyo problem can be resolved in the children's court. A court yabantwana. Hayi a maintenance court. Uya a magistrate's court yalahla la khona. Angithi kwamanje lahla la khona. Mafika khona ucela uclerk osebenza ngabantwana i-children's court clerk bese uyabachazela ukuthi ufuna ukuba ne-relationship nabantwana bakhe. We have what we call parental responsibilities and rights agreements. We've got parenting plans, which can be that's where social development comes in, amongst others, to assist us, even the office of the family advocate, to assist abazali babantwana and the extended families on how to regulate relationship nabantwana. But I have to say, no particular blood relation inalo ilungelo to exclusively exercise their rights, excluding the other blood relations of the child. Umntana unalo ilungelo lokuba ne relationship nabantwana bonke bakhabotata nabakhabomama.
Okay, all right. But I think we'll have to take it back to what we're talking about basically today, which is in maintenance between the two parents, biological parents.
Yes.
We've got a couple of scenarios. We also have one that I want to share with you when I come back from the break, where ufumanisa into yokubana umama ubetshadile, the biological father no biological father womntwana ba divorce. Waphinde wachata ke ngoku umama womntwana. Xa ifika lo tata omtsha wafika wamaintaina umntwana wamenzela zonke imfuneko zomntwana. Now utata ke ngoku uyaphuma kulo mtshato. The mother is taking the stepfather to court ukuba amaintaine umntwana. Is that within the precepts of law? Ndizawufuna ukwazi ezo zinto when coming back from the break. Well, you must also remember that you can also be a part of us right here in studio. The number is 011 714 6918 and 6919. Well, today siphethe umba ochaphazela abazali babantwana bababini. That is the issue of child maintenance. What are some of your concerns ngalo mthetho umtsha? Kuthiwa ngoku uzawubblacklistwa xa ungakwazi ukuhlawula isondlo sabantwana. As a father, mhlawumbi obukeleyo apha ekhaya, what are your concerns? And as the mother, what are your concerns? Call us and let us know. We'll be back after this. Well, welcome back. We'll still continue with our discussion right in studio. The number is 011 714 6918 and of course 6919, just so you can be part of our discussion up in Nkqubeni. Now we're going to take Tabo, who's calling us from Phosphorus. Responsible father, I assume. Hello, Tabo. Tabo?
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show. Tabo, you're on air, Tata.
Tata, ngithi mina nginengxaki mantata.
Aha. Ithini ingxaki?
Kusho ukuthi ingxaki yami ngisupport abantwana and abantwana laba bami vele tata.
Okay.
Manje inkinga njengoba ngangiyele ecourt le ngamangala ngoba ecourt iliphi azange bafune nokuzibona ecourt and iliphi lezo zazikhona ngiziphethe la.
Zange bafuna ukubona.
Azange baze bafune nokuzibona. Iliphi ama-slip la ukuthi ngempela abantwana
nangiyabasupport. Yes.
So mama bami ngisinipheleni. We akuna inkinga vele abantwana bami kumele vele ngibabhadalele but ngithi procedures ecourt ayizange izibe right for mina. Manje yabonakala kusho ukuthi sizoblacklista ngendlela engasi right ngoba iliphi lezo kuhande nazo bazibone ze-proof.
All right. Okay, Tabo. Just keep on watching because kule segment kanye, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about these consequences. You're here about blacklisting, but I think above about blacklisting, there will be something. Or maybe do you want to engage with Tabo, Mr. Potter?
Yeah.
Because you fear blacklist.
Yeah. Look.
Sorry.
It depends ukuthi uThabo ukhuluma ngani makhuluma nge-slips. Because let me
maybe I assume that it's deposit slips as he pays imali kumama umntwana.
Yeah,
ama-receipts
ama-receipts you proof your payment, your maintenance.
Yeah. The court didn't want that.
It's very difficult for me to answer that because I don't know the context. But preferably I would
yes. I would suggest just ask him the question. Tabo, ubusiwe ngumama womntwana enkundleni wathi awubhatalisa. Did the mother take you to court?
Kusho ukuthi umama uye wangithatha wangibukisa ecourt. Ekubeni ngilokhu ngibasupporta ngibenzela yonke into abantwana everything. Njengoba ngisho ukuthi iliphi ngizibekile from ekudleni impahla ini. So nami ke ngathi mangiye court abantu basitshela ukuthi no mama ngiphethe ama-receipt.
Okay.
Angeke ngize ngimaintain ngoba ama-receipt vele nginawo. Kodwa mangifika le court azange bazifune nokuzifuna lezi zinto.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tabo. We'll try to answer your question. So it's basically was taken to court by the mother, and abafuni kumnikuba as a proof forward. It's proof that he's paid.
Yeah, look, perhaps let me say if he is aggrieved, if anyone is aggrieved, because a decision to institute an inquiry is taken by maintenance officer.
Okay. And
irresponsibility around reporting lines, maintenance officers, is within the National Prosecuting Authority. So what he needs to do is, if he's aggrieved by a decision of the maintenance officer, then he goes to the senior public prosecutor, and then to the chief prosecutor, to the DPP, until he reaches the national director.
All right.
So if he's aggrieved, that is the route that he should preferably follow. But let me hasten to say, in some instances, people believe your contractual obligations. For instance, your agreements with particular shops for your clothing, your agreement with a bank for your housing or for your car. They believe when they bring those documents, they would be excused from e-maintenance. That's why I wanted to ascertain what types of slips he's talking to. Because vele, if ungiletela e-slip of the range of clothing that you're wearing, as a point of departure, I don't even go deeper into that to determine the availability of funds because they don't enjoy preference over maintenance. So there would be particular reasons why certain things are disregarded and sometimes legally so.
All right. Well, let's hear what our Facebook people have to say. Our viewers right there. We've got Luvela Masbulelo who says, yes, I think it is a great idea. It's time now for them to man up and take responsibility for their action. We've got Dalumzi Gladil says, yes, it will definitely make them pay because most people out here are afraid to be blacklisted. It will also reduce that hit and run. We've got Zanele Mazanyangani who says, I think it's a great idea because women don't make babies by themselves. It's time for those who don't support the kids to pay maintenance. And then we've got Sipiwe Nhlapo who says people will not be afraid of having babies, and women, people would rather now be afraid of having babies, and women most respect the men because that's why we don't pay maintenance. They just say we need money and they don't know how to make that money. So respect comes first, ladies. Mr. Bota, here is Uspiwo saying that women don't respect men, as in omama babantwana, they just demand the money from otata babantwana. Esonke gender justice, njengamachantliziyo amalungelo abantu ngesini sabo, what is the role of mothers when it comes to maintenance? Mr. Porter, can you hear me? Okay, it seems like we're having communication problems. So perhaps I can also throw that away. But here's Uspio saying that, and it's mostly what people complain about in Tokban, and also the caller, that now the mother, I say, when she deems necessary, she will take the father to court and say, Uspio uti, the relationship is not good, or mama, they just demand the money.
Yeah, it's basically an unfortunate premise to move from. Yeah, but I'm just happy overall, mang pega my Facebook messages to say at least there is an acknowledgement by our people.
Yes.
To say when we complain about a system, government listens, and indeed government then reacts. And when government reacts, like the president signed this into law after the industry of the minister and the deputy minister, then people are grateful about it and they are saying that's the right direction to go. Yeah, but because look, the new provisions, amongst others, there's a problem. Let's say applicant comes in, whether the mother or the father, and the whereabouts of the father are known. All that he has is his cell phone number.
Cell phone. Okay.
Yeah, but
all right.
we are able, through the provisions of the new act, to make an order for the police and to go and serve certain documents on the service provider to give us the details of the respondent, and in that way we are able to know where he resides and his full details.
Besides being blacklisted, what else will happen to fathers who default payment?
You'll get blacklisted. That's the first thing. Secondly, we will attach your emoluments if you are ordinarily employed, like you working for the SABC, I presume. The order that we will make is not to you.
Blacklisting and then
if you are ordinarily employed to sebenza, we will go to your employer.
Okay.
And we will tell your employer to say from his pay, deduct imali yesondlo.
Okay.
Yabon. And we attach that. Yabon. Right. If you are not ordinarily employed, we will find what you have. For argument's sake, if you have investments, Yabon, whether it's an amount in a bank, whether it's an investment with a policy and or a fund, we will go wherever you have the money.
Yeah.
We will tell those people not to pay that money to you, but to pay it to the applicant for purposes of the maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are variety of ways in which we will pursue to make sure that abantwana bayondliwa ngabazali bonke.
I think it's very debatable, especially with case of Gatabo was calling us from Foslora, so saying that he has been paying maintenance. Now you end up in a situation where you are being blacklisted by the mother, even though you were responsible. I think but before you blacklist when we're coming back after the break. While you're still watching Yilungelo Lakho, and today we're touching issues of maintenance. Please make sure that you call us. When ungomnye wabazali abafana Thabo was calling us from Foslora, obhadala isondlo somntwana. Now siyacela into yokubana uzawucinywa uzawubblacklistwa xa ungabhatali isondlo sabantwana. What's your say? Do you think that perhaps this will work towards making parents accountable ekondleni abantwana babo? Please make sure that you tell us. The number is 011-714 6918 and 6919. After the break, we'll continue. Please join us. Well, welcome back. You're still watching Yilungelo Lakho right here on SABC 1. Today we're talking about child maintenance issues, and Mr. Bota was joining us now at Studios. We lost him, but he will definitely go back to him. Well, I told you that you should keep on sending me those messages on Facebook. I'm just going to read a few that you've sent me. Dino Ndingus Poppy, let me just say it's Poppy Wakwanzuzo, says, I think both parents have to participate in the maintenance of the child. Especially Kupuna says, speech. Abe umama umntwana esebenza sibe sohlukana so afake isimangalo soba unsupporti ingaba dingabanjwa on the blacklist okanye bayajonga ukuba ingaba uyaphangela na. Patience Grootboom says parents, whether married, living together, separated or divorced, parents of adopted children must support the financial needs of their children. Nelly Shembe says, I'd like to know, what if the guy denied the child and that you do everything for yourself whilst working? What do you do? All right, those are some of the messages. Keep those messages coming. Our Facebook page is Yilungelo Lakho. And of course, even though I don't check some of your tweets, after the show, we do. And definitely keep the conversation going about some of the issues. Well, you can also send me emails, consume@sabc.co.za. Now, advocate, here are some of the issues. Let me just take you through some of the scenarios. Since ute now uza blacklist also your possessions will be attached. Now here are some of the scenarios. The first scenario is mama who was married with the biological father of umntwana. Having been married, they got divorced. The mother remarried and had the stepchild to the child. Now the father number two, came into the picture, definitely paid maintenance for umntwana. Now came separation. Mother now, the biological mother, is going to court to hold accountable the stepfather for uba engabhatali isondlo somntwana. What do you do in such cases?
The bottom line is umthetho holds you to account for the consequences of your actions. Yabon. And you have nobody to blame when consequences of your own actions befall you. When you get married to somebody who has got children, born of another man, you have an election to make. If you accept those children as your children and act in accordance nomthetho, whether customarily or civilly, all right, in a way that shows, that constitutes the adoption yala bantwana.
Yeah.
You have attracted the duty to yourself to maintain the children.
So,
Yabon.
in this...
It
but
depends.
there are two fathers.
Yes. It depends on what, when ubaba, the second father, at the time that you married, we are not talking about the time when you divorce. We are talking about at the time that you married.
Yes.
What position did you take?
But definitely
if you adopted them, if you adopted them,
as in legally,
yes, and legally includes uma kube benisebeza lezinto ngesixhosa angithi kwasuka the elders of one family baya ku another family kwaba nokuthethisanwa angithi kwaba nalento yokuthi labantwana bayamkelekwa la kwaNdizumbe njengabantwana bala ekhaya angithi uyabona. Then you have adopted them through customary law.
But what about the first father, because that's the biological father of the child?
Those are questions ekumele uzibuze contemporaneous ne decision yakho yokushada.
No.
Yes. Remember, I'm saying, I'm just explaining to you the legal position. All right. It's not for me to argue the correctness of the law. I'm just stating what the law says. So, if you adopt a child, manje, if I'm the biological father of a child, and you adopt my child, and I consent to the adoption, you adopt that child.
Okay.
Yeah, but you relieve me on viable obligations to maintain.
Okay.
You are accepting that responsibility.
So you are going to be held accountable.
Remember, the relationship between you and the child is not regulated by the relationship between you and the mother. It's a separate relationship.
Even though I'm not the biological father.
Yes. So we will hold you to account for the consequences of your own action.
Wow.
That is why they say love is blind.
Okay.
Open your eyes when you marry.
Open your eyes when you marry. Open your eyes when you marry. Well, maskesive binyaniso ka Nyaniso. Itina. Nyaniso, welcome to the show. Nyaniso?
Molweni bhuti kunjani?
Sikhona khona kunjani bhuti?
hayi nami ndiyaphila tata bendicela ubuza nyaniso lapha eMthatha ngicela ubuza uba ndandiye kwa-maintenance ndiyokwenza i-maintenance but then kwakho i-agreement eyenziwayo ngumagistrate but then ke loo mali leyo kwakufuneka uba mayikhutshwe zange ikhutshwe so into endirhalela uyazi uba mna what is the way forward yintoni into endinoyenza like uba ndikwazi uba ndifumane loo mali leyo just because icourt ihoyo I've been there several times.
So icourt yathi umama makabe nesixa semali asikhuphayo nawe ube nesixa semali?
Like mna ndishala nomama nabantwana basekhaya utata yena asihlali naye saya ecourt ke ngoku sawumenzela saya kwa-maintenance then lenziwa lonke yenziwa yonke into bafuna iiproof zethu sazisubmitha but then ke ngoku court zakubekho way forward now that sabaripotela uba akasiniki le mali because kwathe makasifakele kwi-akhawunti yethu.
Okay, Advocate, what can Unyaniso Mthatha do in this case? You can talk to him because he's still on the line.
He must go to the local magistrate's court.
Okay.
Angethi yabona. Aqale lapho to talk to the senior public prosecutor lapha yabona to assist him nge-application nge-enforcement.
All right.
And lapha e-court, in every province, we have what we call the maintenance complaints manager in each and every province. And those details are available at each and every courthouse. So if he doesn't get joy from the assistance and intervention, yes, senior public prosecutor at the magistrate's courthouse, then he lodges his complaint at the provincial office. With the maintenance complaints manager, who would then intervene and make sure that the NPA is aware of what needs to be done, the administration if the problem is there, and the judiciary if the problems are there to give attention to the matter.
Let's go back to the question we had earlier on with viewers as part of Facebook. What is going to be the procedure? Because akaphangeli mhlambe upeya nge-fortnight mhlambe 20 rand or imali ezincinci angakwazi nayo ukuzixhasa as an individual.
When we do the inquiry, that is why the inquiry, it's in the main financial inquiry in the maintenance court to determine whether he can afford. If he cannot afford, there's nothing much we can do. And that is why sometimes people fail to understand, because if I lodge a complaint, it means the end result must be payment. But if we find that the person has got no means, there's nothing much we can do. And gulo sisi lo begati the father denied paternity. She has to go to court and lodge a maintenance claim against him. Yep, and if he arrives and disputes paternity, we'll do the test if needs be.
Okay, and what's the involvement, just looking at the clip that's on the screen right now, what's the involvement, I would like to know, what's the involvement of abazali, the grandparents of the child, when it comes to issues of maintenance? Because here is the guy we have, Urob. Urob wants to pay and be a part of the child's life, but he's not given that opportunity because the father of the mother doesn't allow him to do so.
That is why the court is the upper guardian of all children. Ultimately, if people cannot decide, we decide for them. So if a grandfather of the child understand angafuna ukuzwisisa ukuthi ubaba womntwana unelungelo uba ne relationship nomntwana nokusiza umntanakhe, the law will intervene.
The law will intervene.
We will intervene.
All right. I can over to Maskespin, the Sibila Pive Glen, Kumblake now, Ingaling Top Studio. The number is 011 714 6918 and 6919. After the break, we'll engage Mr. Porter, who's joining us now, Polukanu Studios, from Sonke Gender Justice, just to tell us about some of the issues, especially because on the insert you hear the father of the mother threatening the biological father live. What can Sonke Gender Justice do in such cases? Let us know also what you think. The number is on the screen. Please make sure that you keep in touch. We'll be back. Well, welcome back. Just quickly, let's just wrap up some of the issues that we have left behind. Mr. Porter, thank you so much. We have managed to reconnect with you once again. Now, we're going back, we insert here to where you saw that the biological father is being threatened. I asked Advocate earlier on about the involvement. How far can womzali be involved with issues of maintenance? Now, when it comes to the protection of either the mother who's being threatened by the paternal grandparents or the father who's being threatened by the maternal grandparents, what kind of assistance when it comes to negotiations do you bring as Sonke Gender Justice?
Well, there's very little other than what the law can do, but from our side is to persuade and as I said earlier in my opening remarks, to make sure that all of us, the parties, we continue to ask the question, what is in the best interest of the child? And that for us is at the core of a problem, so that Singabazali, we should not use selfish interest. And if we have our own wars, battles or tabs we fight, it's important to distinguish them, to say that, but this child would need both of us in some instances. But we know that the burden of care is disproportionately on women. So it's important to say, Tina, Tsumbuto City, it's important that we allow the child, if on instances where both of them are alive, to have them both in the life of the child.
Okay, just before we say goodbye to you, what are some of concerns and inazo about the new the Maintenance Act? Just quickly, a few seconds.
Well, the one thing important is to ensure that the system works well. I mean, improvement of, the queues, improvement of itself, the sittings, the court, that, the whole system becomes friendlier to women who we know that 48% of them carry the burden of raising children.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Porter. That was Mr. Porter was joining us now in Limpopo Studios. Now, Upulukwane, rather. Let's come to you, Advocate. Just your round-up words, your closing remarks. What do you have to say to parents who are yet to be held accountable and parents who are defaulting your payments, Abandwan? Just your closing remarks.
Just to answer Uma Pakatila,
okay.
She has a right to lodge a claim against the grandparents of her children.
Okay.
In other words, angithi abazali, according to her, they are employing the son. Angithi she has the right ukuletha lo baba wabantwana nabazali bakhe to court.
Okay.
For purposes of maintenance, because uma ubaba ehluleka ukumaintaina, we can go for the grandparents.
Okay.
Yabon. Yeah. And one important thing, especially abo baba, they like to complain about it a lot. Angithi, when you are called to a maintenance claim and you figure a court, and you have doubts about paternity, raise that question at the beginning.
Just quickly, what about umzali of Mansbutata has been paying maintenance for 10 years, and class if 10 years later, umntwana is not his?
That's the answer I'm trying to provide. Raise the question of paternity at the beginning. Because remember, if you don't raise it, you admit to go to umzali wabantwana. And if after 10 years it is shown that you are not the father, who do we say pay you? Because remember, the maintenance claim, the creditor is actually the child.
All right.
And we can't belabor the child to go to your colleague.
Advocate, unfortunately, because of time, I so wish we had more time just to carry on this issue. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Mr. Porter. Also joined us in our Polokwane studios. Thank you so much for joining us. You right there at home. I know that many people wanted to call, but unfortunately, maybe you couldn't go through. Please make sure that you go on our Facebook page. We'll put up some of the contacts that perhaps you'll need for Sonke Gender Justice and for the Department of Justice as well. Please make sure that you join us again next Friday for another live consumer topic, just so we engage more on these issues. And perhaps if you have an issue that you'd like us to cover right here on the show, please make sure that you send us an email to consumer@sabc.co.za. Nazo-ke nezinye inambers ozibona apho ku screen. Well, from my side, Sipho Ganzaundi and the rest of the team, it's always a pleasure to be with you on Fridays. And please make sure that you support Amapogopogo tomorrow, as they will be playing against Japan, right? It's Japan, yes. Please make sure that you go and you support and you keep your patriotism intact. Till next time, goodbye.
Hallelujah.